Have you ever laid in bed at night, in that quiet space between wakefulness and sleep, and felt that something is missing? Not a thing you can buy, not a person you can call, but a deep, quiet emptiness. A sense that you have been searching your entire life for a door you cannot seem to find. Most people spend their entire lives running in circles, chasing shadows, because they are looking for treasure in a world of trinkets. They don't realize that the greatest secret to power, to wealth, to a life of profound meaning, was written down thousands of years ago by a man who had it all. A man who was offered anything his heart desired, and chose wisdom. His name was Solomon, and the wisdom he uncovered is not just a story in an old book. It is a living, breathing law of nature. It is the same force that Napoleon Hill spent his lifetime trying to decode. And tonight, we are going to sit with it. Quietly, slowly, we are going to pull back the curtain on a secret so powerful that once you see it, you will never see your life the same way again. But you have to listen carefully. You have to listen with your heart, not just your ears. Let's begin. Imagine, for a moment, standing at the edge of a vast, dark forest. The kind of forest that has been there since before memory. The trees are old, their roots sunk deep into the earth, and their branches reach up into a sky you cannot see. You have been told your whole life, by everyone you have ever known, that the path to success, to happiness, to fulfillment, is a straight line. A highway, paved and certain. You have maps. You have GPS. You have teachers and gurus on every corner telling you exactly which lane to drive in, which exit to take, which destination is the most worthy. But you look down at your own 2 feet and you realize something that stops you cold. You are not on a highway. You never were. You are standing at the edge of this ancient, dense wood. And the path before you, if you can even call it a path, is narrow. It is overgrown with thorns and uncertainty. It disappears into the shadows after just a few feet. And most people, the vast majority, they take one long look at that dark and uncertain trail, and they simply turn back. They cannot bear the thought of walking into the unknown. So they stay right there, at the tree line. They clear a small patch of ground. They build a little hut. They spend the rest of their life trying to make that hut comfortable, trying to furnish it with things, trying to paint the walls and patch the roof, trying desperately to convince themselves that this is where they were meant to be all along. They tell themselves the forest is dangerous. They tell themselves the path is a myth. But deep down, in the quiet moments, they know. They know they settled. This is the hidden problem. The problem that nobody talks about in the daylight. It is not a lack of talent. You have talent. It is not a lack of opportunity. Opportunities are like seeds. They are everywhere, falling from the trees. The problem is something far more fundamental. It is the inability to see that the path is inside of you, not outside of you. You have been trained to look at the ground for directions, at the maps drawn by others, but the true path is not on the ground. It is in the heart, and a heart that cannot listen, cannot see it. King Solomon understood this with a clarity that has echoed through the millennia. Picture him, if you will, a young man, suddenly thrust onto a throne he never expected to occupy. The weight of an entire nation pressed down on his shoulders. He was terrified. He was unsure. And in that moment of profound vulnerability, God appeared to him in a dream and offered him a blank check. Anything, anything at all. You can ask for long life, so you can enjoy your power for 100 years. You can ask for the heads of your enemies, so no one can threaten your kingdom. You can ask for riches so vast they would make the rivers run silver and the mountains turn to gold. These were all on the table. These were the things any king would want. But Solomon paused. He listened, and he asked for something else. He did not ask for a brilliant mind, though he received it. He did not ask for cunning strategies, though they came. He asked for something far more rare, far more powerful. He asked for a listening heart. Think about that for a moment. Let it settle. A listening heart, not a heart that speaks, not a heart that demands, not a heart that is filled with its own knowledge and its own opinions. A heart that could listen. Listen to what? Listen to the wind in the trees. Listen to the whispered counsel of his advisors. Yes, to all of that. But more importantly, And this is the secret that was hidden in his request. He asked to listen to that still, small voice within. The voice that knows the way before the mind can calculate it. The voice that is the source of all true wisdom. The voice that is always speaking, but is always drowned out by the noise of the world. Most people ignore this problem. They don't even know it exists. They think the answer to their confusion, to their restlessness, is more noise, more information, more courses to buy, more opinions from experts. They fill their mind with so much chatter, so much static, that they cannot hear the one voice that actually matters. They are like a man dying of thirst, standing in a gentle, life-giving rainstorm, but holding an umbrella firmly over his head. He has blocked the very source of life, believing the umbrella will protect him, when in truth, it is the only thing standing between him and everything he needs. Napoleon Hill spent over 20 years of his life doing one thing. He studied the most successful people of his era. He sat at the feet of Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate. He interviewed Henry Ford, who saw a horseless carriage where others saw a fantasy. He spoke with Thomas Edison, who pulled light out of the darkness. And you know what he found? After all those years, after all those conversations, it wasn't their education. Many of them had very little formal schooling. It wasn't their lucky breaks. They created their own luck. It was something else entirely. It was their ability to tap into something unseen. Something he called infinite intelligence. He called it many names, but the meaning was always the same. It is a universal mind, a creative force, that is available to anyone who learns to quiet their own mind and listen. He said that great minds think with nature. They align themselves with the flow of this infinite intelligence. Average mind try to think against it, fighting the current, exhausting themselves. Or worse, they don't think at all. They just react. They bounce from one external stimulus to the next, like a leaf in a storm, never once stopping to listen to the quiet voice that could guide them home. The hidden problem, the one that keeps us building our little huts at the edge of the forest, is that we have been trained, from the moment we could speak, to look outwards for answers. We look at the neighbor's lawn, and we feel a pang of envy, and we want our lawn to be greener. We look at the bank account of a stranger on the internet, and we suddenly feel poor and inadequate. We are constantly comparing our small, self-built hut to the castles we see in the dreams of others. We exhaust ourselves trying to acquire what they have, never realizing that their castle was built on a foundation we cannot see, a foundation inside of them. But Solomon's wisdom and Napoleon Hill's philosophy point to a radical and liberating truth. The castle is not out there. It is not on the internet. It is not in the neighbor's yard. The castle is inside of you. And the only way to ever build it on the outside, in the world of form and matter, is to first build it on the inside, in the world of thought and spirit. Most people never notice this. They spend their entire lives, their one precious life, trying to paint the walls of their little hut, hanging new curtains, buying a slightly nicer chair. They are so focused on the decoration of their prison, they cannot conceive that they have the power to lay the foundation of a palace in the clearing of their own soul. They just have to be willing to step into the forest. They just have to be willing to listen. This is where the journey begins. Not with a new plan, a new strategy, a New Year's resolution. It begins with something much quieter, much deeper. It begins with a new way of listening. So there we are, standing at the edge of the forest, understanding for the first time that the path is within us, that we have been looking in the wrong direction. It is a moment of clarity, but clarity, on its own, is not enough. Because between where you stand and the path that leads inward, there is a trap, a silent, ancient mechanism designed to keep you exactly where you are. And unless you can see it, unless you can name it, you will step right into it every single time. Let us sit with this quietly, because this is where most people lose their way. Solomon, the same king who asked for a listening heart, left us a proverb that has been repeated for thousands of years. It has been painted on walls and printed on cards, but its true meaning has been largely forgotten, buried beneath layers of casual repetition. He said, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Now, you have heard this before. Everyone has. It rolls off the tongue so easily that it has lost its weight. People think it means you should have a positive attitude. They think it means if you think happy thoughts, you will have a happy life. And while there is a grain of truth in that, it is like looking at the ocean and calling it a drop of water. It misses the immensity entirely. Solomon was not talking about the thoughts you choose to think when you are trying to be positive. He was not talking about the affirmations you repeat in the mirror. He was talking about something far deeper, far more powerful. He was talking about the thoughts that think you. The thoughts that live in the quiet depths of your heart. The ones you are not even aware of. The ones that have been playing on repeat since childhood, like a record you forgot you were playing. He was saying that your dominant thoughts, the ones that simmer beneath the surface when you are not trying to think at all, the ones that arise naturally when you are driving alone in the car or lying in bed at night waiting for sleep, those thoughts become the blueprint for your entire existence. They are the silent architects of your destiny. They build your life while you are asleep. They construct your relationships while you are distracted. They shape your finances while you are working. Napoleon Hill built his entire life's work on this single, profound principle. He called it the power of the dominant thought. He said that whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But listen carefully to that word, because it is the key that unlocks the prison door. Believe. It is not just conceiving. It is not just having a wish or dream or goal written on a piece of paper. It is a state of being. It is a deep, cellular knowing that something is already true, even before you see it with your eyes. It is the feeling of the thing before it arrives. And here is where the trap springs shut, silent and swift, like a door closing in a draft. Most people's dominant thoughts, the ones playing in the depths of their hearts, are not thoughts of abundance. They are not thoughts of peace. They are not thoughts of power or love or freedom. Their dominant thoughts, the ones they have been thinking for so long they don't even notice them anymore, are thoughts of fear, thoughts of lack, thoughts of I am not enough. You may say to yourself every single morning, with absolute sincerity, I want to be rich. I want to be successful. I want to find love. But if, deep down in the quiet places of your heart, your dominant thought is, money is hard to get. Money is the root of evil. Rich people are greedy and unhappy. I don't deserve abundance. I always struggle. Nothing ever works out for me. If those are the thoughts living in your heart, then those are the thoughts that will build your life. The affirmation you speak in the morning is just a leaf floating on the surface of a vast river. It can spin and dance and catch the light, but the dominant thought is the current underneath. It is the massive, silent force of the water moving downstream. And that current, not the leaf, determines where you end up. Solomon saw this with perfect clarity. He watched men and women all around him work tirelessly, exhaustingly, to build wealth, only to watch it slip through their fingers like sand. Why? Because their character, their dominant thoughts about themselves and about money, could not hold it. Their vessel had a hole in the bottom. He saw people chase love with desperate longing, only to sabotage every relationship the moment it got close. Why? Because deep down, in the silence of their own hearts, they believed they were unlovable. They believed abandonment was inevitable, and so they made it inevitable. He saw that the outside world is simply a mirror. Nothing more, nothing less. It is a vast, silent mirror, reflecting back to you, with perfect accuracy, the contents of your own heart. If you see chaos around you, it is a reflection. If you see lack around you, it is a reflection. If you see conflict and struggle and disappointment, it is all a reflection. The mirror is never wrong. It never lies. It simply shows you what is. This is the trap. It is not that the world is against you. It is not that the universe is cruel or random. The trap is the belief, the deeply ingrained, seemingly unshakable belief, that your problems are caused by the world, by the economy, by your boss, by your spouse, by your parents, by your childhood, by your bad luck. And as long as you believe that, you are a victim. You are powerless. You are a leaf in the wind, tossed about by forces you cannot control. You will spend your entire life trying to change the reflection in the mirror. You will get angry at the mirror. You will shake your fist at it. You will try to smash it. You will run to a different mirror, hoping it will show you a different face. But it never works, because the mirror is innocent. It is just doing its job. Think about your own life for a moment, not in a stressful way, but gently, curiously. Is there an area where you feel stuck? A place where you keep having the same fight, the same disappointment, the same result, no matter how hard you try to change it? Perhaps it is with money. Perhaps it is with a loved one. Perhaps it is with your own body, your own health. That recurring pattern, that same old movie playing again and again, that is your mirror. It is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are broken. It is a revelation. It is a gift wrapped in uncomfortable paper. It is showing you, with perfect clarity, a thought you have been thinking for a very long time. A thought so familiar, so comfortable, that you have mistaken it for the truth. Most people, when they look into this mirror and see a face they do not like, they get angry at the mirror. They try to break it. They try to run from it. They distract themselves with television and social media and business, anything to avoid that uncomfortable reflection. But the wise person, the one with a listening heart, does something entirely different. They look at the reflection, the same disappointing reflection, and they do not flinch. They do not blame. They do not run. They look at it with gentle curiosity, and they say, "Aha, so this is what I have been believing. This is the blueprint I have been using to build my life. This is the current beneath my leaf." And in that moment, something shifts. The trap does not disappear, not yet, but it loses its power. Because you have seen it, you have brought it into the light. And a trap that is seen, a trap that is recognized, is no longer a trap. It is just a hole in the ground, and you can walk around it. Now we come to the turning point, the moment when the fog begins to clear and a shape emerges from the mist. You have seen the hidden problem, that you have been looking outward for a path that lies within. You have seen the mental trap, that your dominant thoughts, not your wishes, are building your life. And if you have seen these things clearly, you may be feeling something stir within you. A hope, perhaps, but also a question. A quiet, urgent question. How do I get out? How do I stop being a leaf on the current? How do I change the thoughts in the depths of my heart? How do I find the path that is hidden within me? These are the right questions, and they lead us directly to a principle that Napoleon Hill uncovered after decades of study. A principle so powerful that he called it the cornerstone of all personal achievement. He called it the mastermind. But we must be careful here. We must slow down, because the world has taken this term, as it takes all powerful things, and it has stretched it and flattened it and turned it into something small. People hear mastermind, and they think of a networking group. They think of a room full of entrepreneurs trading business cards and sharing marketing tips over coffee. They think it is about connections and leads and joint ventures. And while there is nothing wrong with any of that, it is like looking at the ocean and calling it a puddle. It misses the depth entirely. It misses the invisible force that makes the mastermind truly transformative. The true mastermind, as Hill described it with painstaking precision, is the coordination of knowledge and effort in a spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. That is the definition. But the secret, the part that cannot be seen with the eyes, is what happens when those minds come together in genuine harmony. Hill believed, and he demonstrated through countless examples, that when two minds meet in a spirit of perfect harmony, a third, invisible, intangible force is created. It is like a third mind, a psychic presence, a bridge that connects them to something far greater than themselves. Think about that slowly. Let it sink into your understanding. It is not just two people talking. It is not just collaboration. It is the creation of a new entity. An entity that has access to wisdom neither person could reach alone. An entity that can solve problems that stump both individuals. An entity that taps directly into what Hill called infinite intelligence, the universal field of wisdom that Solomon accessed when he asked for a listening heart. Solomon lived this principle thousands of years before Hill gave it a name. He did not build the great temple in Jerusalem with his own two hands. He did not quarry the stone. He did not carve the wood. He did not smelt the gold. He did something far more difficult, far more powerful. He created a vision. A vision so clear, so compelling, so filled with purpose that it acted like a magnet. It drew to him the finest minds, the most skilled craftsmen, the most dedicated workers in the entire kingdom. He provided the dominant thought, the definite purpose, the burning desire. And then he held that space with such unwavering focus that thousands of people organized themselves around it. Their minds, working in harmony with his, and in harmony with a higher intelligence, accomplished what one man, no matter how wise, could never have accomplished alone. This is the principle that changes everything, because it breaks you out of the illusion of separateness. And make no mistake, separateness is an illusion. It is the great lie that keeps humanity small. The trap, the mental trap we spoke of, tells you that you are alone. It whispers in your ear that you have to figure it all out by yourself, that you have to fight and claw and compete because there is only so much to go around. It isolates you. It makes you believe that your struggles are unique and your burden is yours alone to carry. But the mastermind principle reveals a different truth entirely. It reveals that the greatest power available to a human being is not found in solitude, but in harmonious alliance. It reveals that you were never meant to do this alone. Look at the natural world for a moment, because nature never lies. A single drop of water is weak. It is vulnerable. It evaporates in the sun and disappears into the dust. It has no power. But when that same drop joins with other drops in a flowing river, it has the power to carve canyons through solid rock over time. It can move mountains grain by grain. And when that river reaches the ocean, when that drop joins with the vastness of the sea, it becomes part of something so powerful it holds the weight of ships and moves with the pull of the moon itself. The drop does not lose itself in the ocean. It finds itself. It becomes what it was always meant to be. Most people live their entire lives as isolated drops. They are terrified of joining, terrified of trusting, terrified of harmonizing. They try to push their rock up a hill alone, and they wonder why they are so exhausted. They wonder why life is so hard. They have never learned the secret of joining a river. They have never experienced the effortless power that comes from aligning their mind with another mind in perfect harmony. This is not just about business partners. This is not just about professional success. It is about the quality of every relationship in your life. It is about finding even one other person, just one, with whom you can share a definite purpose in perfect harmony. A spouse who sees the same vision. A friend who believes in you more than you believe in yourself. A mentor who has walked the path and can hold the space for your growth. When you find that person, something magical happens. Something that cannot be explained by logic alone. Your problems are cut in half, and your power is doubled. You have access to a wisdom that is not your own. You have a mirror that reflects not your fears, but your highest potential. You have a partner who can hear the voice of infinite intelligence when your own ears are clogged with doubt. But it requires harmony. It requires a letting go of the ego. It requires a listening heart. Because the moment your ego gets in the way, the moment you need to be right, the moment you compete instead of cooperate, the moment you try to control or manipulate or use the other person for your own ends, that invisible third mind vanishes. The bridge collapses, and you are just two drops of water again, sitting next to each other, but separate. Alone. Weak. This is where everything changes. When you stop trying to do it all alone. When you stop believing the lie of separateness. When you humble yourself enough to seek out your river, to find your ocean, to join your mind with another in a spirit of genuine, selfless harmony. That is the moment you tap into a power that has built kingdoms and moved nations. That is the moment you stop being a leaf on the current and become the current itself. So we have arrived at a place of understanding. We see the hidden problem, that we have been searching outside for a treasure that lies within. We see the mental trap, that our dominant thoughts, not our conscious wishes, are building our lives. And we see the principle that changes everything, the mastermind, the power of harmonious alliance that connects us to something greater than ourselves. But now we must ask a deeper question, a question that leads us directly into the heart of transformation. How do those who achieve greatness actually think? What is the architecture of their inner world? what is happening inside their minds while the rest of the world sleeps. Because it is not enough to know what they do. We must understand how they are. Solomon asked for wisdom, but he did not ask for it as an addition to his life, as something to tack onto an already existing existence. He asked for it as the foundation. This is the first shift, the first difference in how great achievers think. And it is so subtle that most people miss it entirely. The average person thinks of wisdom, or self-improvement, or personal growth as something you add on top of your life. You have your life, your daily routine, your problems, your relationships, your work. And then, if you have some extra time, some extra energy, you might add a little bit of wisdom to make it all better. Like sprinkles on a cake, like icing. It is an accessory. It is optional. But the great achiever knows something different. They know that wisdom is not the icing. It is the cake. It is the substance. It is the foundation upon which everything else is built. The relationships, the wealth, the health, the joy, the peace, these are not the cause. They are the result. They are the natural, inevitable byproduct of a life lived from a foundation of wisdom. Most people have it backwards. They think if they can just get the wealth, then they will be wise. If they can just find the right relationship, then they will be happy. If they can just achieve the right position, then they will have peace. They are trying to build the house from the roof down, and it keeps collapsing. The great achiever builds from the foundation up. They know that the inner world determines the outer world. They know that the invisible determines the visible. They know that you cannot have a peaceful life without first having a peaceful heart. You cannot have abundant relationships without first feeling abundant within yourself. You cannot hold on to wealth without the character to sustain it. Napoleon Hill said that the starting point of all achievement is desire. But again, we must be careful, because the word has been weakened by casual use. He was not talking about a weak, wishy-washy, I hope I get it someday kind of desire. He was not talking about the kind of wanting that fades when things get difficult. He was talking about something far more intense, far more focused. He called it a burning desire. A burning desire is not a wish. It is not a hope. It is not a goal written on a piece of paper and tucked into a drawer. A burning desire is a fire that consumes you. It is a thought that fills your mind while you are awake and dances in your dreams while you are asleep. It is an obsession, but not a destructive one. It is a holy obsession. It is a focusing of all your mental and emotional energy on a single point, like sunlight through a magnifying glass, until that point bursts into flame. The average person has wishes. They have 100 different wishes, scattered in 100 different directions. They wish for money. They wish for love. They wish for a vacation. They wish to lose weight. They wish their boss would be nicer. Their mental energy is scattered like seeds thrown to the wind. Most of it lands on barren ground and produces nothing. But the great achiever has a burning desire. They have taken a single thought, a single purpose, and they have focused the entire force of their being upon it. They have transmuted that thought, that purely mental thing, into a physical reality through the power of sustained attention. They have given it a magnetic quality. It begins to attract to it, as if by magic, the people, the circumstances, the opportunities, the resources necessary for its manifestation. This is not magic. It is law. It is the law of cause and effect operating on the mental plane. Think of it like a radio tower. This is an old analogy, but it still holds. The average person's mind is a broken radio, a damaged receiver, constantly scanning, never settling. It picks up static from the news. It picks up fear from a conversation. It picks up anger from a memory. It picks up doubt from a passing comment. It is broadcasting chaos and confusion, and it is receiving the same in return. The signal it sends out is weak and scattered, and the signal it receives back matches it perfectly. But the great achiever has tuned their tower to a single frequency. Their dominant thought, their burning desire, is so clear, so powerful, so focused, that it broadcasts a signal out into the universe with tremendous force. And the universe, being what it is, being a vast responsive field of intelligence, responds to that signal. It sends back exactly what is being broadcast. Not because it is personal, not because it loves or hates you, but because it is a law, like gravity, like electricity, like the tide responding to the moon. Solomon understood this at a depth we can barely fathom. He understood that wisdom was not about knowing facts, not about memorizing scriptures, not about being able to win an argument. It was about being tuned to the right frequency. He called it the fear of the Lord. And this phrase has been so misunderstood, so mistranslated, that it has lost its original meaning entirely. It was not about being afraid of an angry deity in the sky. It was about reverence. It was about awe. It was about the deep, humble recognition that you are part of something infinitely larger than yourself, and that there are fundamental laws governing this universe that you ignore at your own peril. It was about aligning yourself with those laws, not fighting against them. It was about flowing with the river, not trying to push it upstream. The great achiever does not fight against the universe. They do not waste their energy trying to force things to happen. They align themselves with the natural flow of infinite intelligence. They stop trying to push the river, and they learn to flow with it. They understand, with a deep and abiding certainty, that there is a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to seek and a time to find, a time to be silent and a time to speak. Most people try to harvest when they should be planting. They try to find when they have not even begun to seek. They are impatient. They want the reward without the journey. They want the fruit without the root. They want the flower without the seed. And so they pull up their seeds every morning to see if they have grown, and they wonder why nothing ever blooms. But the great achiever thinks in terms of seasons. They are patient, not because they are passive, but because they understand the laws. They know that the oak tree sleeps in the acorn for a long, long time before it breaks through the soil. They know that the butterfly struggles in the cocoon before it can fly. They know that the gold is purified in the fire. They do not rush the process. They honor it. This is how they think differently. They see the invisible. They trust the unseen. They know that the greatest power is not in doing, but in being the person whose dominant thought is already aligned with their destiny, in being the person who has already become, on the inside, what they wish to see on the outside. They know that the outer world is simply a reflection, and if you want to change the reflection, you do not attack the mirror. You change the face. And so, we come to the end of our quiet conversation. The fire has burned low. The house is still. The world outside has gone to sleep. And you are here, in this moment, with these words. We have walked a long path together through the darkness of the forest, through the hidden traps of the mind, through the principles that connect us to something greater. And now we are left with a question. The only question that truly matters. What now? What do you do with all of this? How do you take these ancient truths, these timeless principles, and weave them into the fabric of your ordinary days? Because knowing and being are two different things. You can know the path perfectly. You can memorize every twist and turn. But if you do not walk it, you are still lost. You are still standing at the edge of the forest, holding a map you have never used. The awakening moment is not when you hear the truth. The awakening moment is not when you understand the truth intellectually. The awakening moment is when you see the truth in your own life. When you look at your reflection, at the circumstances that have been causing you pain, at the patterns that have been repeating for years, and you no longer blame the mirror. You no longer point your finger at the world and demand that it change. You look at it with new eyes, with a listening heart, and you say, quietly, this is my creation. This is my dominant thought made visible. And if I created this, I can create something else. This is the moment everything shifts. It is not a loud moment. It does not come with trumpets or flashing lights. It comes in the stillness, like the sun rising over a quiet field. One moment it is dark, and you cannot see your hand in front of your face. And then, gradually, almost imperceptibly, the light begins to creep over the horizon. The shapes emerge from the shadows. The path becomes visible, and you realize it was there all along. You just could not see it. Napoleon Hill wrote something that has stayed with me for many years. He said that strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. At first glance, This sounds exhausting. It sounds like a lifetime of hard work, of pushing against resistance. But he was not talking about struggling against the world. He was not talking about fighting other people or fighting circumstances. He was talking about the struggle within. The daily, quiet, often invisible battle to hold onto your dominant thought. The effort it takes, in the face of 1,000 distractions and 1,000 fears, to keep your mind tuned to wisdom, to keep your heart listening. This is the real work. It is not about changing jobs or moving to a new city or finding a new relationship. Those are external changes, and they will only last as long as your internal state supports them. The real work is the inner work. The work of watching your thoughts like a shepherd watches his flock. The work of noticing when the old fears creep back in, when the old doubts start whispering, when the old patterns try to reassert themselves. And in that moment, instead of feeding them with your attention, instead of believing them, you simply let them pass. You do not fight them. You do not argue with them. You just watch them drift by like clouds in the sky, and you return your attention to the truth you have chosen. Solomon, at the end of his long and remarkable life, wrote a book called Ecclesiastes. It is a strange book, a difficult book, a book that has puzzled scholars for thousands of years. In it, he looks back at everything he built, everything he achieved, everything he possessed. He had wealth beyond measure, gold and silver like stones in the street. He had women beyond count, 700 wives and 300 concubines. He had palaces and gardens and pools and vineyards. He had power that stretched from the Euphrates to the border of Egypt. He had wisdom that surpassed all the wise men of the East. And he looked at all of it, this vast accumulation of everything a human being could want, and he said, "Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. It is all meaningless. It is all vapor. It is all chasing the wind." This sounds, on the surface, like the words of a man who has given up, a man who has sunk into despair. But it is not. It is something far more profound. It is the cry of a man who has finally seen through the illusion. He was not saying that life has no meaning. He was saying that the things you chase outside of yourself, the things you accumulate, the status you seek, the approval you crave, they have no lasting meaning. They are smoke. They disappear the moment you grasp them. You can spend your whole life building a kingdom of sand, and the tide will wash it away. The only thing that remains, the only thing that is real, the only thing you take with you when you leave this world, is the state of your own being, the wisdom in your own heart, the love you have become. The awakening moment is realizing that you have been chasing smoke. You have been running after shadows, believing they were solid. You have been building your house on sand, wondering why it keeps collapsing in the storm. And the secret that Solomon offers, the secret that Napoleon Hill spent his entire life translating for the modern world, is this: the kingdom you are seeking is not made of sand. It is not made of gold. It is made of spirit. It is made of thought. It is made of the very fabric of your own consciousness. And you do not have to build it. You do not have to construct it from scratch. You just have to uncover it. It is already there, buried deep within you, beneath the debris of 1,000 fears and 1,000 false beliefs. The listening heart is not something you acquire. It is not a skill you learn. It is something you uncover. It is the original you, the you that existed before the world told you who to be. You remove the rocks of ego, one by one. You clear the weeds of resentment, patiently, day by day. You sweep away the dust of doubt, the accumulation of a lifetime of small surrenders. And there it is, a spring of living water, flowing quietly, patiently, eternally, waiting for you to drink. This is the quiet awakening. This is the moment that changes everything without changing anything on the outside. You are still you. You still live in the same house, wake up in the same bed, face the same challenges. But you are different. You see differently. You hear differently. You move through the world with a new center of gravity, a new anchor. So tonight, as you lie in bed and the world grows quiet around you, do not ask for more things. Do not ask for a different life. Do not ask for the circumstances to change. Ask, as Solomon did, for a listening heart. Ask to see the mirror clearly, without flinching. asked to be shown your dominant thought, the one that has been running beneath the surface. And then, in the silence, just listen. Do not judge what you hear. Do not try to fix it. Do not rush to change it. Just listen. Let it rise. Let it show itself. Because in that listening, you are doing something more powerful than any action you could take. You are tuning your radio. You are connecting to the mastermind. You are planting the seed of a new reality in the fertile soil of your own awareness. The secret wisdom of King Solomon is not a secret to be kept. It is not a treasure to be hidden. It is a truth to be lived. It is the knowledge that the door you have been searching for your whole life, the door you have been knocking on, the door you have been trying to force open with your will and your effort and your striving, it is not out there. It is within you, and it has always been open. It has always been waiting. It has always been inviting you to walk through. Listen carefully. Can you hear it? The creak of the hinges in the silence. The quiet invitation that has been there since the beginning. It is time to stop building huts at the edge of the forest. It is time to stop chasing smoke. It is time to come home to the only place you have ever truly belonged. It is time to walk through the door.